open the momentous Quebec Conference, the Prime Ministers of Britain and Canada arrived to meet the President of the United States. The Right Honorable Winston Churchill and the Right Honorable William Lyon Mackenzie King motor to the Chateau Frontenac, scene of the parley. Britain's Prime Minister made the trip to Canada by boat rather than by plane. He is in the best of spirits and health throughout the sessions. Accompanied by full military and naval staffs, the President and the Premier go fully into such questions as strategy for applying the pincers to Japan from the south and southwest, the possible redefining of the terms under which an armistice may be obtained by either Germany or Japan, determination of the weight and distribution of the Allied forces that may be diverted to the Far East once Germany has fallen, and problems of finance, relief, and repatriation in conquered areas pending assumption of the responsibility by civilian authorities. Mrs. Churchill and Mrs. Roosevelt accompany their husbands. They both receive a cordial welcome from Canadians in the services. There's time between social engagements to look around the historic city of Quebec. Canada is proud to have the distinguished visitors as her guests. On the Italian front, preparation is made to crack Hitler's last prepared defense before the Alps, the Gothic Line. Jerry mortar fire lands close to our forward OPIPs. Preparations are made for another shift in position. General Vokes and General Burns complete the detailed plans which set our armor on the move to crack the German wall of defense. Close to the right flank, the object is to crash through the deeply placed fortifications on the Adriatic coast. The objective is Rimini, gateway to the valley of the Po River and the plains of Lombardy. In these 24,000 square miles of flat country lie Milan, Turin, Venice, and Italy's main industrial wealth. Canadian tanks move forward to the attack. Canadian infantry moves steadily forward up the dusty roads. The deeply placed strong points of the Gothic Line are one by one shattered. Von Kesselring learns a lesson from his previous defeats and prepares reserves in depth behind his defenses. With 12 divisions to dispute our advance and having the advantage of positions in mountain strongholds, he is no easy nut to crack. Slowly but surely he is blasted out of his Apennine positions and our troops forge their way through the line. Refugees move back in the wake of our advance. 13 months of bitter, bloody battles are crowned as we drive to the Alps, last bastion of the Reich. To the Arc de Triomphe and liberated Paris comes Major General George Vanier, CMG DSO MC, Canadian Ambassador to France. He places a wreath on the grave of the unknown soldier. Accompanying him are Colonel Drew, Premier of Ontario, Colonel McQueen, Head of Canadian Military Staff in Paris, and Mr. Saul Ray, Canadian Secretary in Paris. As the tide of war moves forward, liberated cities of France return to a semblance of normalcy. In Rouen, historic city of Joan of Arc, in the shadow of Napoleon's statue, a special ceremony takes place. The GOC, 1st Canadian Army, Lieutenant General Crerar, arrives at the town hall to make a presentation which will help cement the friendship between the Canadians and the French people. A special guard of honor is selected from units of the RCEME. Before the ceremony takes place, they are inspected by the GOC and the mayor of Rouen. The occasion is the presentation to the city of a plaque made by Canadian troops. In a speech full of warm welcome to the Canadians, His Worship Mayor Montjay accepts the plaque on behalf of the citizens of Rouen. Planing in his flying jeep, the Canadian Army commander pays a visit to the Vimy Ridge Memorial. Recently captured by Canadian troops, Vimy Ridge brings back memories of the last war to General Crerar. He fought there with the Canadian Corps. He inspects the famous Canadian Memorial, which is still in good condition. Even during the occupation, the caretaker kept the Vimy Memorial grounds in order. The proud cenotaph looks down on another generation of Canadians who have nobly upheld the traditions their fathers died for on Vimy Ridge. As the 1st Canadian Army moves into Belgium, many historic cities are liberated. A famous battleground of the last war is Ypres, known to the British Tommies as Wipers. Here an age-old ceremony is resumed, the parade of the Giant of Ypres. Representing Goliath of the biblical story, the giant is paraded once a year. It commemorates the Belgian victory over the British in 1383. Discontinued during occupation, the ceremony takes new meaning today. Now the giant welcomes the British and the Canadians back to Ypres. As the pursuit of the enemy continues, Montreuil is overrun. Jerry, cut off by the British Second Army's advance to Brussels, is surrounded by Canadians. A heavy armored train is among the equipment he demolished before leaving. It is equipped with 3 145mm cannon and several small ack-ack guns. Newport is a strong point which held up a Canadian brigade. Belgian patriots repaired bridges blown up by the enemy so our transport could cross on schedule. Linemen of Royal Canadian Signals worked night and day to keep our swiftly moving units in communication. In the village of Cambron, the enemy were not clear of the town when the villagers hung out the tricolor and commenced a ceremony of liberation. Around a little last war memorial, a joyful populace give thanks for their deliverance. A great crowd in the square at Bruges awaits the Canadians. Johnny Canuck plays the role of movie star as Belgian kiddies beseech the carriers for autographs. There's no doubting the sincerity of the Belgians. A spirit of fiesta is unleashed at the first sight of Allied troops. For them are no more weary days under the hated oppressor. As our troops chase the enemy back over the borders, a new Belgium rises from the ashes of despair. A Belgium eager to take her place among the free nations who united forge ahead to victory. Dieppe, 1942. 2 years ago, German cameramen record the landing of the 2nd Canadian Division on the beach transformed into a living hell. Canadians hold their positions for 8 terrible, bloody hours. Their objective achieved at frightful cost, they pioneer in the plan for a future greater invasion. Dieppe, 1944. The 2nd Canadian Division returns in triumph to the scene of their martyrdom. Storming up the long, straight road to the town, they thirst to settle the score with the German garrison. The garrison has fled, scurrying like rats east along the coast road. In their earlier crusade, it was hot lead which greeted the Canadians' arrival. Now, it is flour. Famous Canadian regiments march past their chief, General Crerar, the Royal Regiment of Canada, the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry, the Essex Scottish. Returning also to the scene of their grim baptism of fire are the Cameron Highlanders, the South Saskatchewan Regiment, the Fusiliers Montreal, the Black Watch, the Calgary Highlanders, the Regiment Maisonneuve, and the Toronto Scottish. Still standing is the cenotaph erected to the memory of our last war dead. In a peaceful graveyard are 855 crosses, row on row. During the occupation, they were erected by Frenchmen of Dieppe to mark the resting place of the gallant Canadians who fell in the Dieppe raid. Their memory is forever as fresh as the flowers brought by kind hands to their graves. The whole town turns out to pay tribute to their memory. General Querar reads the address at a service of commemoration. Glory and honor to these men from across the sea who gave their all that the torch of liberty might shine again. Comrades who kindled the light which never again will be quenched by the tyrant's heel.